What's up, you guys? We are back with another episode of the Man Up Club Presents podcast. I am your host, Lena, aka Sis from Sis and Lil Bro, but I'm also the program director of the program, okay? So we're based in the Twin Cities, specifically Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the whole goal of the Man Up Club is to highlight and support the men of young Black culture, okay? So our three goals is to get young men to graduate from high school, to get young men to go on to a trade or college after high school, and then also to keep them out of the prison pipeline. Now, I have a very special guest for you today, and his name is Jay Patnode. Say, what's up, Jay?
What's going on, guys?
Yes. How are you doing today? How are you feeling?
Fantastic. It's beautiful. Anytime in Minneapolis that we can have good weather, I'm always grateful.
Oh my gosh, we was just talking about this because literally like the past 2 days have been the only days where we've had some sunshine and there has been no snow on the ground. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying my time. Okay, so let's get into today's episode content. So I'm just going to give a moment to allow you to introduce yourself. You're 27 years old. You know, you're a bright, shining light. That's like the energy that I get from you. You're very like motivated, but I want to, give you a chance to speak to the people.
I appreciate those kind words. And yeah, I'm Jay Patnode. Hi, guys. I've been on a journey my entire life. I feel like for me, it's all been about personal growth and obviously financial growth, but then also how can I spread those different things? And so, I'm 27. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm born and raised here. Mm-hmm. And, my goals are just to help as many people as I possibly can.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So as far as you would call yourself an entrepreneur, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have, this vague idea of like entrepreneur because it includes so many different things. It's working for yourself, being your own boss, right? Mm-hmm. Specifically, what are the things that you do?
Okay. Yeah, actually, I do a couple of things. I guess serial entrepreneur is one of those things. But essentially, a lot of it is all based around online business, right? Like I pride myself on a lot of the things to be able to have like a time and location freedom. And so for me, I teach people financial education. So, how to like trade and invest in the markets, whether it be cryptocurrency, stock market, like general investing education. And then I also run a social media marketing company where I help people with brands and lead generation and, scaling their personal and business brands as well.
Awesome. So for today, you're like, okay, well, this is a great guy, but like, what's the nitty gritty of it? So the thing is, we're going to explore how our guest made the transition from a young boy to becoming a young man who's in love with entrepreneurship, personal growth, and a life of success. He's a social media influencer of 30K. He's a motivational speaker. And so we're just going to dive deep into it. But let's start off with your childhood, just being relatable on that end. So I'm going to assume that you are mixed with Black and white.
Yes. That's
okay,
correct.
So your mother is white?
Yes. Yep.
Father's Black.
Usually how it goes.
Okay. So what was life like growing up for you?
Life growing up for me, I grew up in Minneapolis on the north side until I was about 12, 13. Then I moved to Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. And for me, it was just me and my mom, right? Single parent household, governmental housing and food stamps and things like that. So we obviously didn't have a lot growing up. But nonetheless, it was always like I always dreamed of more, right? And so it wasn't like I thought that everything was necessarily hopeless. I just always knew that there was more than what we had where we were at. And so that's what it was. And then eventually got the ability to, when I was 14 going into high school, I always kind of excelled academically. And so I was able to go to school outside of my city. And that's where I opened my eyes to a lot of different things. And then I went to college in North Dakota. And then from there, I started my entrepreneurial journey around 21. But I got the whole idea to get into the entrepreneurial space when I was 18. So when I was 18, I had an opportunity after my first year of college to go to Michigan and do door-to-door sales. Mm-hmm. And so it was literally an offer that I had 48 hours to take. It was a connection through a friend of a family friend. And they said, hey, if you want to do this, come down to this Michigan, and you got 48 hours, jump in the car, drive down. We'll figure out the rest there, but you can make a lot of money. So I was like, you know what? I'll trust it. And got in the car the next day, drove down, and then I had a whole summer of doing door-to-door sales, and that's what really opened my eyes to, well, hey, there is other forms of income or career paths than just necessarily what I'm looking at while I'm in college. And so that's where I kind of got my first taste of like, if you don't work, you don't eat type of deal. Mm-hmm. And I kind of fell in love with it.
That's amazing. So, see, what's crazy is like, I have this big question mark because it's like, okay, you grew up on the north side of Minneapolis, so you
hmm
were in literally like the real urban area,
Yes.
right? You said single parent household. Until what age were you living in that area?
North Minneapolis
Mm-hmm.
until 12, 12, 13. Yeah,
Till
12.
12.
Yeah, 12.
What schools did you go to?
Ascension was one. Um, I can't remember what it was previously to that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily, me and my mom don't necessarily chat about it
No,
as
that
much. And then
gotcha,
at
gotcha.
27, it kind of starts fading away, like the minor details. But I went to Ascension, and then another school. I want to say maybe it was Harvest, if
Okay,
I can remember.
okay. Where was your father during that time?
I have no idea. I mean,
Really?
I knew that he lived in Minnesota, and I'd probably see him maybe once every other year. You know,
Mm-hmm.
mom would call and say, "Hey, it's your son's birthday. Can you get him some clothes, or can you get him some, whatever it may be?" And then I'd see him every once in a while, but he wasn't necessarily there.
Mm. And like how obviously that's a really tough and sensitive like dynamic. Um, would you say that was a personal struggle for you having your dad not as present?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, it's one of those things, obviously, and a lot of people experience it and go through it. That
Mm-hmm.
when you don't have that father dynamic, especially as a young male,
Mm-hmm.
you don't necessarily. There's a certain. My whole life, I always felt like there was a certain like aspect that I wasn't learning,
Mm-hmm.
right? From whether it being like how to be a man, down to instead of my father throwing a ball with me, it's my mom throwing the ball with me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
although that was amazing, I love my mom to death. I feel
Right.
like there's certain dynamics that you miss out on, and certain life lessons that you can only be taught by a man.
Did you express like anger towards him? Were there like when maybe when you were older?
Absolutely. There's definitely periods in my life where even I express anger to my own like mother. Like, why am I in this situation,
Mm.
or why do I feel like this? But eventually I realized that it wasn't that I was, in my mind I still had two parents because my mom played both roles eventually, right? Obviously
Mm-hmm.
there's things that that it took away from,
Mm-hmm.
but I started looking at more of a positive light and saying like, well, instead of, being upset about what I don't have, being grateful for what I do have.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And obviously you and your mom are like super tight.
Mhm.
What would you say is like the relationship with your dad now?
Yeah, it's actually we formed some sort of like more of a relationship since then. When I was about 21, when I really started truly diving into my entrepreneurial journey, I think I was like 21, 22, and I decided, I said, hey, in order for me to grow, in order for me to, go further in my career and even help other people, I got to let go of all the anger of the past,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can't be so focused on the past because there's nothing to be done there, right? It already happened. I have to let it go. And so for me, I kind of went on this big forgiveness tour per se.
Oh, really? When you were younger?
No, not this wasn't until I was 21,
Oh,
22.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
My
no, no,
bad.
no, not until I was 21, 22. No,
Okay,
I was I
okay.
was upset for a long time,
For
but
sure, for
but
sure.
but yeah, I went on like a forgiveness tour essentially, and all the people that ever did me wrong, I just said, hey, it's a clean slate, and I even reconnected with him and said, let's go get some lunch. Instead of
Mm.
me being so upset about what had happened in the past, I was like, well, let me kind of hear your story. What was it from your eyes? Because there's always two sides of every single story on why
Right.
things are happening, and I wanted to just know like what was it, and if it was a valid reason, then okay, I get it. And still, it doesn't make it right, but I was like, I'd rather not be upset about it, and maybe we can move past and form a dynamic maybe later on.
Hmm. And see, okay, you perked my ears up a little bit because you said, if it's a valid reason.
hmm
And so the question is, and this is not to point fingers, but this
Yeah.
is actually to get people thinking because there are a lot of people who can relate to your situation of unfortunately not having their fathers,
hmm
all consistent throughout their childhood. But do you truly believe that there are reasons that are valid as to why a parent cannot consistently show up for their child?
Okay, that's a good question. Now let me rephrase it. I didn't mean necessarily a valid reason on why leaving the kid, but a valid reason on maybe why the situation didn't work in the way that it didn't. And there's no, I believe, valid reason because I think you should always be there for you, like your children.
Right.
If you decide to, have kids, or if you're, old enough and responsible enough to do the act, then you should be able to take the consequences that come with it. But, was there something that maybe my mom did, right? Or was
Mm.
there a circumstance where you were not in the mental space to even be around a child, whether it's drugs, alcohol, things like that. Like, if you're not suitable to,
Right.
be around that, is it can do more harm you being there than good? And so
Mm.
that's kind of what I wanted to, see for myself and realize and see where we could maybe pivot from, or at least if I can just understand it, maybe I wouldn't be as upset, because the older you get, the more you start realizing everything in life is situational,
Mm.
and every decision that you make, has a big impact on how your future plays out, and all the events to occur. And so I just wanted to know that. But no, I don't think that there's ever like an actual valid reason, just more of an understanding side from my aspect.
Got you. And what's kind of sticking out with this conversation so far to me is that, I mean, and you can agree to disagree, or you can agree, but true success is being able to be fruitful, not only financially, mindset wise, but also in your personal relationships, right? Because we're talking about wholesome success. So what I like is that you eventually came to a place of forgiveness, and you came from a place of wanting to reconcile something that has hurt you for so long. And see, you came to that point as a young man, right? Or were you a teenager when you started to think about trying to reconcile with your dad?
No, I was like 21, 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
So see, as a young man, you had that maturity to be like, you know what, let me try to, like you said, you came to your dad and was like, okay, let's have lunch. And maybe not everybody has that same courage to do that, or their circumstances are completely different,
Mhm.
right?
For sure.
But I would encourage everybody who does experience that parental hurt, to see if you can make some steps towards reconciliation, of course. But it's easier said than done, right?
Absolutely.
But when you did that, did you feel a shift between you two, or even within yourself? Did you feel a shift?
Yeah, more so. I mean, us too as well. But if I'm being honest, I guess it was in a way more of a selfish thing. It was
It
for
was for
it
you.
was for myself. I mean, yes, I wanted to. In my mind, it wasn't that I necessarily wanted to maybe give him comfort in any type of form or fashion. It was just I wanted to not have to feel so upset and angry about all the events of the past. And um, if out of it, it became a relationship, or if he was happy by default or whatever it was, I was willing to take that.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, sometimes you need to forgive people for yourself. You need that closure, you know. Um this is something also that I kind of wanted to pick at with you too, is I also wanted to get into the experience of being a biracial kid, cuz I can relate. I'm
Hmm.
half Filipina and half African American. So I definitely want to dive into
Yeah,
that in
let's
our
do it.
next segment.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Before we start talking about how he became this man of entrepreneurship, it's like, let's just get down to the nitty-gritty of what makes us who we are from the core. This is
Absolutely.
the Man Up Club Presents podcast, and I'm your host, Lena. We're going to get back to you on Holy Culture Radio. We're back with the Man Up Club Presents podcast, and we've been getting to know Jay quite well. So we're going to hop into another new segment, okay? This is called I Like When a Young Man. Also, I like when a young woman, because we give you an opportunity to say what you like. So I like when a young man says what he means and means what he says. I like a man who is a man of his word. I love that, because that means that you are serious about what you say. It's not me expecting that you're perfect, but it's knowing that as a woman, I can trust you, and whatever you say, you mean, and what you mean, you say. So you can think of yours.
Hmm.
And you can let the people know I like when a woman, whatever.
Hmm.
I was on the spot too.
That's
I
a
was
good,
on,
that's a
I
good
was
one,
on the
though.
spot
I was
too.
like,
I
okay,
know.
whoa. All right, now I like it. I mean, I would say I like when a woman knows who she is. I like when a woman can find peace and happiness within herself instead of anybody, else. Because I feel like a lot of times, men and women both, but we don't love who we are as people, or we don't love maybe our own journey or our own situation, and so we find it easier to seek love or validation from other people, or love onto other people as a result. And so it takes away from maybe yourself in that sense of loving yourself, because I truly don't feel like you can love anybody properly until you do love yourself in its entirety.
Mm. So would you say you love a woman who has comfort in her own securities?
100%. 100%.
Because everybody has insecurities.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, then that's pretty amazing.
Right, you might be lying if you don't, but yeah.
That's dope. That's super dope. Make sure you guys also, let us know what do you like about a man? And if you're a man, what do you like about a woman? Okay, let's get back into it. So now that we've kind of gotten to know, a little bit of your personal background and some struggles you've been through, how did you make this transition of being who you are today? You're so driven. You're so motivational, charismatic. Right, exactly. So it's like, how did you get to that point? I mean, I know somebody came up to you and was like, hey, you want to make a whole bunch of money? But like, was it more than that?
Yeah. I would always say that, like, a lot of people, I mean, almost every person, especially in today's day, with just how connected we all are, we all see what's possible out there. We all see what's already being done by other people just, through the eyes of social media. But it was always in the back of my head that there was like that greatness is there. It was always like, if someone else could do it, why can't I? But I never had a track to run on. So I feel like everybody in the world is kind of maybe looking for an opportunity, but just not actively. Like, if an opportunity, the right one presented itself in front of you, you might take it. Or if you're maybe not ready for it, you wouldn't take it, but in your head you would want to. And that's kind of, what initially compelled me to go on this whole entire journey is I felt like I was looking for something. And when that and I was actively searching, like, I wanted to get into something. But when the opportunity fell into my lap and somebody was like, hey, you want to make a bunch of money? And I was like, well, what does entail? I'm open to it. I'm always open to listening. I'll never turn something down before I actually know the details of it. And that's what started me on my journey. He said it, and from the moment he told me what it was, I knew that I'd be doing it for the next decade. And it's been already over half a decade now.
So how did you not know that it was a pyramid scheme? Because I ran into I've ran into my fair share of pyramid schemes.
Yeah.
And because it's just like, sometimes people may think like, oh, that's too good to be true. How does somebody like come up to you and be like, hey, there's this opportunity to make money online, right?
Yes.
And it's like, okay, we're let me guess, like, you're not working the 9 to 5, right?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't.
When you were approached with that opportunity, it's like, you can be your own boss. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like, did you ever experience running into a pyramid scheme before?
Yes. And so I always have to ask the question is, what would you say in your words is a pyramid scheme, right?
What, are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking.
I would say a pyramid scheme is a false hope that a marketer presents to you, where, they come to you with a lot of the American dream promises of, hey, you know what? Yeah, like, if you market this product, or you sell us or give us like a whole bunch of clients, reach out to everybody in your network, reach out to your friends, reach out to your family, reach out to, the neighbor down the street, and, let them know that, if they get into this product, or, they buy this life insurance from you, then, they'll be set for life. And basically, the more clients that you get, like this week, we're going to shoot for 100. Next week, we're going to shoot for 200. The week after that, 400. And then you'll just continue to get paid. And then like a week after you get presented the opportunity, you automatically get promoted. And then 2 days after that, you might get another promotion. And it's like,
yeah,
it's just like, okay, what's going on here?
Yes. And so what I'd say to that is, so yes, the biggest thing of what I've seen over my 6-7 years in the industry now is it's really about who is it that's selling you this dream. Because everybody, so pretty much how it works is what you're, kind of explaining is like a network marketing model or a multi-level marketing model.
Yes.
Where you can get paid multiple levels down. And even with any sales job, you can do the same, right? If I bring you in and I'm on a sales team of whether I'm selling, siding and roofing, or I'm selling, food to a catering business, or I'm just your sales guy. If you bring salespeople underneath you, you obviously want like a cut, right? If you were to say, hey, say me and you were talking about a business idea, right? And you're like, hey, Jay, I want to sell maybe some of the stuff that you do for social media. Okay, cool. You sell it, I give you a piece of the commission, right? Well, what if you bring somebody else that also wants to make a sale? You're like, well, I introduce you to her. I would like a cut as well, right? And that's kind of usually how it goes, a middleman. But then what if that third person comes in and says, well, hey, I want to make a sale, but you're like, well, what about her? I want to get a commission for her. And so that's how the model is. It's unlimited levels deep, essentially, is the multi-level marketing model. And the thing is, what gives it a bad rep is the people that are selling it, right?
Okay.
People come in and they sell you a dream of like, hey, you're going to go and make X, Y, and Z. And that's not the truth. And I guess it depends from person to person. I know however, in my business, as you can probably see, you've probably seen a bunch of people come in and out, right? They come and they're doing something for a week, a month, a year, and then you never see them ever post about it again. I've been doing it since the moment I started it because we run it correctly, right? I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm just telling them, hey, there is a legit shop, but what we sell is different. It's it's financial education. So I don't ever tell somebody I guess the biggest difference is you don't have to recruit to make money with our product. Right? We're teaching you how to invest in the markets and things like that. But the big common misconception, like what an actual pyramid scheme is, and that's why I always like try to ask people, what's your definition on it? It's giving somebody money with expectation of getting money back. So there's no product or service involved. That's why if you think about companies, like you said, Amway, right? Amway is the same type of model, but they're selling household items, laundry, dish detergent, all that stuff, things like that, versus where we do have a multi-level marketing model, but it's with financial education. So somebody could come in and just study. They can teach it like school. We pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to colleges and universities to maybe not even get a job when we get out. But with us, you pay $149 a month to learn financial education. And then a lot of people will be like, well, that's a scam. Well, a lot of times I look around and see, well, isn't our schooling system now kind of a scam? We don't learn about anything when it comes to financial education. They don't teach us how to about credit, about loans, about the payback rate of loans, about interest, about how to get how to save, how to budget. We don't learn anything like that. And that's what got me so passionate into this field, was teaching that financial education, because I know what it has done for my life, and then what it's done for a lot of people that have helped over the years, even on like a trading side, but also just knowing enough to know when an opportunity is right or wrong. That's kind of wrong, but yeah, or long, but yeah.
No, that's amazing. It's life skills, and you made a point there when you said that our public educational system is. I'm gonna just leave it right there. I want you to give some financial tidbits to the listeners.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So we're talking, basic financial habits, structures, and ways to organize your money. What are the essential things that you think everybody should do?
Okay. First off, I want to say I'm not a financial advisor. This is my disclaimer. Obviously, these are just things that I personally do.
Yes.
So, so basically talk about like budgeting and things that I do with my money.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is like breaking down my money into categories. Like a lot of the reasons why people don't ever save money or end up being able to, people don't think that they can invest because they don't think they have enough money. But in reality, it's because a lot of people match their lifestyle with their income. Right? So they'll go ahead and if they make $4,000 a month, well, they'll match it to spend $4,000 a month. If they go ahead and move it to $10,000 a month, they won't keep it at $4,000 a month of expenses.
Right.
They'll move it to 10. And so you're basically living check to check, even as someone that makes six figures. I've seen it happen all the time, so many times, that people that make more money in America, I believe the percentages are, I can't remember what the percentages are, but it's a very high number of people are still living check to check, even that make over six figures, because they match their lifestyle to their income. And so that's the first thing. If you ever want to get ahead, obviously there's a solution. Go make more money, but also stop spending it. Stop spending on the useless things. And there's so many things that we think about that we do and that we spend, that we say we don't have time to invest money into savings or into different assets or stocks, but we're okay with going to the bar on the weekend and spending $200. We're okay with going to the club and popping the bottle with the friends. We're okay with taking that trip. We're okay with going to that dinner. Or we're okay with buying that new outfit, but you don't have money to invest. And so that's the first one, is don't match your lifestyle or don't match your
expenses.
Yeah, your expenses to your income. And then the second one is develop a plan. At the end of the day, you can't get any destination correctly without a plan. And so what I do, right, is this is what I do. I break it up into categories, right? So when money comes in, I break it down into a few different categories. So since I'm a business owner, 25% of that I save away for taxes. Does that mean I'm gonna have to pay 25%? Not necessarily, but just to be safe, 25% away from taxes, for taxes, and then 25% away towards just savings and in general and investing, and then the other 50% you break it up. You pay yourself 10% every single month. And some people are like, well, 10%, that's all I pay myself? Well, if you want to get ahead, you have to do something. And so 10%, and then maybe another 10% and then 25% for like your expenses, right? Your expenses should never be more than 25% of whatever you spend. And then everything is kind of miscellaneous for there. But for me, it's a little bit different as a business owner. But break it up and have a plan that you set every dollar that comes through to a certain amount.
That's amazing. I think y'all can run that back and listen to it again with a pen and paper. Okay, and right. No, this is very practical. It's not too over the head. It makes perfect sense. You can say yes or no for essential. Emergency fund.
Essential.
Yes.
Most people, it's 99. I think it's 90 or 95% of people in America don't even have, $5,000 in case of an emergency.
Define an emergency fund for people who don't know.
Emergency fund, in my eyes, I would say for any events that are just really unexpected. I mean, it can be all the way from a flat tire. It can be all the way from your car broke down in its entirety. It can be from a medical emergency. It can be from maybe your son, daughter, your mother stranded somewhere and you need to pay for them to do whatever, or a funeral happens, you need to fly back. Any just unexpected event, but that is very logical to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely do need to do better with keeping an emergency fund, myself included. So when it comes to savings, are there different types of saving accounts that you think people should have?
Yes, I think when you're saving, I think one of the most like practical thing would be, maybe save whatever percentages people are comfortable with, but let's just say it's half, and then or maybe it's 75%, and then the other part of that savings is I would categorize it as investments. Maybe safer long-term investments, whether it's for myself, the S&P 500, some of those longer mutual funds, things that you can kind of look into. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor, but those are just personally what I do. And then having maybe a percentage for a little bit higher risk investments, and then have just a flat savings, open a high yield savings account, whatever it be, money that you just don't touch at all.
Well, those have been some great financial tidbits, and we will get back with the other segment. Hello, guys. We are back on the Man Up Club Presents podcast, and we're talking with Jay Patnode just about his life, just getting into, like I said, the nitty gritty of, how he became this young man that he is today. But, it is time for the Man Up Minute. Okay. So, Jay, this is a little segment where we highlight one of the values of the Man Up Club pledge. We have our Man Up members say this pledge every time that they're about to get into a mentoring session. It's all the values and statements that we hold them accountable to. Okay. So today's Man Up Club pledge statement is, I expect no handouts. Okay. First thoughts on that. I expect no handouts.
I love it. That is, it's literally been my motto for the longest I could ever think.
Yeah. That's kind of actually why I chose it, is because I just kind of felt like you could resonate with that. It's like, because, you're a hardworking man. It's like, okay, well, you're living this life of not expecting any handouts. Not expecting any handouts means that you're not expecting anybody to help you. Okay. And it's not this cold shoulder thing, but it's really developing a mindset of, I'm going to work hard for myself because nobody's going to do this other than me. I'm the main driver. God gave us free will. So I'm going to work the vision until I see the results, because no one else is going to show up for me. So expecting no handouts, that means you're going to get it done come hell or high water. Right?
100%.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. So back into the conversation. So last segment, I said that I wanted to get into like the experience of being a biracial person. You know,
Mhm.
I can, share some of my experience, but I definitely want to, how do you want this to go? Do you want to go first a little bit, or do you want me to go first? And then, who's going to start?
I'm interested in hearing yours.
Okay.
I really am.
He's
I
like,
really am.
okay. Okay. So as a biracial person, my race is black. Race is different from ethnicity. Race is the color of your skin. But if you look deeper into, my actual culture, I'm half Filipina and half African American. And so in my life, I've been blessed to have the experience of both ethnicities, both cultures, right? So when I grew up, it was on my Filipino side of my family.
Mhm.
So I grew up eating Filipino food. I grew up, understanding the language, understanding Bisaya. That's one of the languages of the Filipino people. And I'm a proud Filipina, but growing up, I also would ask myself, like, why am I like the darkest one? I'm the darkest one though. Like in pictures, I'd be the darkest one. But I knew that there were some Filipinos that were my color, so it wasn't, that big of a deal. But like I remember being a kid and sitting in my toy room, and like I would look at my legs, right? And then I would look at my knees, and then like my knees would just look like elephant skin because it was like darker.
Yeah.
And it's like, and my little sister, she's white because we have the same mom, but our fathers are different. Her dad's white, my dad's black, and so like my sister and my mom, who was like, my mom's actually kind of like your color, like light, super light skin, like tan. And so for me, like I would just be like, I'm like, I would just be wondering like, oh, why is my knees or why is my elbows like darker? And then when we'd be sitting in the car, I would also like not try to get darker. And so like if the sun was shining through the car, I would like scoot over and sit in another place. And it's crazy looking back on these things now because it's like, it was just because I had this consciousness of like not wanting to be like the darkest one or whatever. But growing up, it's like, oh no, I love, like, that's just, I love, yeah. So I grew out of that. Thank God I like grew out of that because I appreciate the beauty of being a black woman. And like growing up on my dad's side, I embrace more of my African American culture. And it's like, I'm a black woman and I can say that. And there's two sides of me for real. So knowing that about me, like, I'm just curious to know your story and your experience. Like, I'm gonna just ask you some questions, and you can kind of take it from there. Like, have you ever felt like you weren't black enough?
Absolutely.
Have you? Go ahead.
I don't want to say yes and no. I guess it's all depending on where you're at. But there would be points that I would be. But I guess it depends on what do you define as black enough, right? If we're talking about struggles, if we're talking about us as black people is what we go through. If you even talk about from the pain that is went through, absolutely, right? I was like, there's nothing, and I would stand on that, right? As a kid, I would if anybody ever tried to tell me different, I'm like, well, I mean, we've lived right next to each other, brother. Like you're literally my neighbor, so you see what goes on in my house, and so yeah, I guess it just but I have though, I definitely have.
Have you ever felt like you weren't white enough?
Absolutely, sure.
Because you're both, and that's what I'm saying. It's crazy to ask you that because like physically looking at you, it's like that's a black man.
Absolutely, yes.
So yeah, what have your struggles been like growing up and thinking about times where maybe you would notice those differences?
For sure. I mean, a lot of it on both ends was like more so. I mean, really in like a cultural thing, right? So like I grew up. In Minneapolis and then in Brooklyn Park, and all of my neighbors and everybody around me and all of, majority of my friends were black, but my mother was white, and she herself was actually from the country. And so like when I would spend time with her side of the family, I'm the only, I'm the only black kid, right? And we're in the country, and I'm born and raised in the city, and so obviously the dynamic's a little bit different. And in the inverse, it's like, hey, when I first went to like when I'd be around, they're like, well, you were raised by, a mom who's white, so you don't necessarily get it. And I'm like, well, I guess it depends on how you look at it, because it really always just depends on how you look at it. And so It was always an interesting thing because we used to always, me and a couple of my buddies would always joke about, being too black for the white kids and too white for the black.
Right.
It was always like a phrase
Right.
we'd say, and we just kind of be in the middle. But eventually I kind of grew to love it, right?
Mm.
Because when you do stick out, there's a lot of opportunity in that. And so instead of feeling like alienized, you start looking and saying, well, what can I do to utilize this, right? Well, you get more attention. Whether the attention is good or bad, it's all about, in my mind, it became of like, well, I can use this attention to meet more people, right? Because I don't necessarily fit in one crowd, so I don't have to only be in a certain box. So I would hang out with people, like even all through high school, I'd hang out with people, whether they were, rich preppy kids on the lake or, my boys back home in Minneapolis, and it would all be a different dynamic, and I'd be able to fit in wherever I went. Eventually, like being alienized in that sense kind of became like a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Mom used to always say, no matter what you do, you have to be a chameleon and be able to blend in. Obviously, be who you are, be true to yourself, and that's what makes you who you are and will make you stick out from people. But be a chameleon, be able to converse, be able to relate, have empathy with all different types of people.
I love that. And I can relate to that as well. And I do believe and know what your mom is talking about. You got to be able to adapt to different environments, and it's a beautiful gift to be able to relate to different types of people, and like you said, at the same time, that doesn't mean change who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, what do you think of code switching?
Well, if you ask my friends, I might do it here and there, right?
Oh, for real?
Yeah, no, let's put it this way. I used to, right?
Okay.
I used to all the way probably until, because I used to think of it in the sense of not code switching in the sense of like I completely become a different person, because I've always been me,
Mhm.
but there's certain things I know that I'll leave out, right? So it's not like I'm a completely different person, because no matter I go, especially in today's day, because I've done so much like personal development and like, a journey to find who I am, that I'm completely comfortable in my own skin, that where no matter what I talk the exact same, outside of, obviously like really close friends and things like that. But it was never necessarily that it was code switching, but it was knowing what things I can and cannot say.
Well, see, okay, and what things would you be talking about leaving out? Because let's get real.
Yeah, let's get real.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you said before you used to code switch more than you do now.
Yeah, I feel like I don't at all anymore.
Okay, good. That's
Yeah,
good
I don't at all
now.
anymore.
That's good. But before, okay, let's just say, for example, you with your friends or whoever you were code switching, what was the group of people that you were in that you would code switch for, and
Yeah.
what was in the code switching?
Yeah, I
you
guess
were doing?
more so the better question to me to ask is, what would you define as code switching?
Thank you.
Right? Because that's more so I could be complete.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. What would you define as code switching? Oh, you're asking me.
Oh yeah, or could I say it? Yeah,
Yes,
you want to
go
say? Okay.
ahead.
So yeah, for me, I would say changing. Really changing the way you talk and act in front of a certain demographic to maybe fit or appease into that circle.
Right.
Is more so how I'd view it. Would you agree? Or do you have?
Yes, I agree with that. And I've code switched too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, it would probably be a little bit of both, but more so at the time through whether it was like high school, it'd be the white demographic, right? So when I'd be there, it'd be, it's not necessarily was I as free as I usually was until I found like a certain group of friends that I just didn't care, right? The comfortability, but I always feel like to an extent, I'm never gonna completely show my hand to strangers. I'm always gonna be myself, but to just let and where my like to be completely myself in like a comfortable sense, I don't necessarily think I would just like, kind of speak as free as I do, but it was definitely more so around the white demographic. And then, I mean, I guess it'd be the same thing with even some of like, my African American friends. There'd be certain things maybe I wouldn't bring up as far as like if I liked maybe a certain like music, right?
What, for example? Like what?
What's a good way to put it?
So you around the homies and y'all talking about music, and who wouldn't you bring up?
I'm not bringing up Justin Bieber in high school,
And I used to be a big JB fan.
I was a secret JB fan, I wasn't coming home like, yo, let's play that new JB.
Oh, I feel that. Wow. Yeah, it's definitely something that we all go through, But it's a good thing that you've found, like you said, your uniqueness, and just having the freedom to be like, yeah, I'm different. And there was a very key question that you brought up earlier, which is, okay, well, what does it mean to be Black? You know what I'm saying? Because that doesn't mean that you have to, you got to talk like is, And if you do, that's okay. That's perfectly fine too. That's beautiful too. You could still talk like that and be professional,
Absolutely.
But you can also sound like how you sound and be a proud Black man.
100%.
And that's just what it is. This is the Man Up Club Presents podcast, and we will get back on another segment. We are back on the Man Up Club Presents podcast. I'm your host, Celena, and we've been learning a lot from Jay just on personal finances. We've learned a lot from you today. Thank you for sharing about, your background and struggles and just overall growth. Speaking of overall growth, I want to also pick your brain on mindset, So let me start by asking, what are your essential habits that you do every day, every week, just on a regular basis to maintain this positive aura about yourself and just this overall positive mindset that you have?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest habits that I probably do on a consistent basis and practice for a long time is one, gratitude. So every single morning, I write 3 things I'm grateful for in a journal just to start the day off with some type of positivity. And manifestation is another big one for me. I think it's very important to speak and visually see your goals. And so, and just the life you want to live, right? Every day I wake up, I'm like, hey, I want to be a positive role model. I want to be happy. I want to be wealthy. I want to be healthy. And I say that I am those things every single morning.
Every single morning.
Every single morning, whenever,
Wow.
Every single morning. And so just starting the day is off with positivity in some form or fashion. And then honestly, one of the biggest ones is my environment. And so for me, I think I'm really big on environment. I believe that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I mean, if your 5 closest people, your 5 best friends that you're spending the most time with all smoke, well, you're probably the 6th smoker. If all 5 drink, you're probably 6th drinker. If all 5 work out, you're probably in the gym. If all 5 are wealthy and happy and successful, you're probably wealthy, happy, and successful. And so environment's a huge thing for me because I don't believe you can grow in a place that you died at. And so I always just am conscious of who I'm giving my time to, who I'm giving my energy to, and what I'm allowing to be said to me on a daily basis.
Yeah, I definitely love that. Do you remember your 3 gratitudes today?
Yes, I do. The first one was I was grateful for the opportunity to be able to come here. So that's one. 2, I was grateful for my business partner. It's a great guy, love him. And then 3, I was grateful for the meal that I had before I came.
I know that's right. What did you have?
I had eggs and chicken. That was this morning.
Food is very essential, y'all. It's very Speaking of food, what we put in our bodies has a big role. It plays a big role.
Oh, for sure.
Into our energy, because you are what you eat. I do believe that because I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Like the past few days, last night I had Taco Bell, and then like a couple nights before, I'm over here confessing, but and then a couple nights before that, I had Wendy's, and then I had like pizza. So honestly, I've been, eating like this fast food lately. And what's crazy though? I am experiencing negative feelings from that. Like I actually do feel the difference from when I eat a lot of fast food in a week versus when I'm eating fruits and vegetables. I really do notice that.
100%.
What is your diet like?
Yeah, my diet right now is ever since the beginning of the year, it's been low carbs and like pretty much no or low sugars because I'm a big candy head. I'm a big foodie in general. I love food. I can eat. Trust me.
It usually be like the slim people too. Like, cause me, I can eat everything.
Yeah, I love food, but right now it's like I'm doing very low carbs right now, just because I mean, from what I was doing research on, they said if you do low carb or no carb. It helps you kick the sugar cravings, and that's my biggest thing. Is I can eat healthy all throughout the day, but at night I'm gonna have a pack of Skittles, right? I'm a whole bag. It's going down, right? And so that's what it is right now. And I've noticed myself have so much more energy. Not really drinking energy drinks anymore. I'm keeping away from all of like that processed stuff as of right now, and it's been going great.
Yeah, it's crazy because I've never ate in Europe. The only other country I've been to is Africa, and I did stop in Europe just for a layover. But anyways, there was some girl from overseas, and she was just like, she was a YouTuber I was watching, and she was like, I came over to America, and like I went to the grocery store, and I saw these chickens, right? These raw chickens, and she's like, what the heck are y'all pumping into these chickens? These chickens are huge. And she's like, that's not normal. Like, what are y'all eating over here in America? And then she was looking at the portions, and she was just like, yeah, like a small here is like a medium or large where I'm from. And so I just point that out to say that, you know, I personally am a believer that the average like American diet is just not healthy for us.
Absolutely not. I agree.
It's not healthy for us, y'all. It's not. Agree. Yeah. So you're obviously, you know, food conscious. When it comes to taking care of your body though, fitness and things like that, do you have a routine?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
Okay. What's your routine like?
So pretty much every single day I do go to the gym. I try to go at least 5 days a week.
He said, hold on, pause. He said at least 5 days a week, y'all. There's 7 days a week.
Yeah, at least 5.
You know, this man is killing it.
At least 5. But my biggest thing is always has been the struggle with food. Like I've always I love going to the gym. I love working out. I'll lift 4 or 5 days a week, play ball 1 or 2 times a week, and like I love that. It's always been for me more of like the food side and of being more conscious of that, which I've done a lot better like as of recently. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I go to the gym, work out my specific muscle groups. I feel like for myself to have like mental clarity and like physical energy, I have to hit the gym. If I don't, my whole day feels off.
Really?
I feel off. Like I went before we came here. I was like, I had to before we come chat.
That's what's up. And see, at the time right now, y'all, okay, locally, Central Time in Minneapolis, well, we're in St. Paul right now, but 11:37. I know a lot of people's just waking up right now.
Yeah.
And that's okay. This is not to shame you. This is just to let you know that if he can do it, you can do it too, y'all. Like, you know, if one person can do it, you can do it too. But you see, I just want you guys to understand how, you know, little habits like working out in the morning and, you know, eating something healthy, it goes a long way, because as human beings, we're very impressionable. And we're very dynamic to where like the physical affects the spiritual, you know, the spiritual affects the mental. It's all intertwined, you know.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people these days can get overwhelmed with it too. People can get overwhelmed with personal development. You know what I mean? Because I've been there, because I'm all about self-growth and all that stuff. But I do find myself, especially with social media, I do find myself getting overwhelmed with like self-improvement. Like, okay, I gotta get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I need to only have, you know, fruits and vegetables, and then after that I need to make sure to do a meditation, and then after that I have to make sure to lotion everything, and then like it's like I don't know, sometimes it can just get, especially as a female too, it can get so overwhelming. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
I'm a self-improvement, personal development junkie, but the biggest thing I realized is like, it's been one, finding what works for you, but like I've taught and helped with a lot of different people, and they've talked about like their personal development journey. They're like, man, I'm doing all this personal development, but nothing's actually like coming out of it. And I think one of the biggest things I've like learned is like, you have to apply it, right? You can learn all you want, right? You can listen to the podcast, you can go to the seminars, you can read the books, but at the end of the day, to know and to not do is the same as not knowing it all. And so like,
hold on, run that back again. To know, wait, say that again.
So to know and to not do is the same as to not know it all. And so a lot of times we get so many people that are like, hey, you know, knowledge is power, knowledge is power, knowledge is power. But like I said, to know and to not do is the same as not knowing it all. So applied knowledge is power. And so I think when you start doing more action steps, because the personal development side is amazing, but like more action steps of like, you know, I know people that will go ahead and listen to 1,000 ways to go ahead and get fit in the gym, but never hit the gym. Right?
Because it be like that.
I'm studying, I'm learning what I got to do, what I got to eat.
Right.
Well, I don't see those foods in the fridge, right? And it's just like that with our brain. Like you can teach someone, like I can talk about, hey, like you can listen and read books about manifestation and positivity and growth, but if you're not applying those practices in real life, it never really comes to fruition. You don't really feel any change. And so I think a lot of times it just becomes more like, what can we do as far as action steps to like start seeing them? Because once you start seeing like results or improvement, then that's when you get even more excited. Like I call it the like raising the bar. Like it's like picture a triangle. At the top it's belief. At the left it is action, and at the other side is results. Right?
Okay.
I think
belief, action, results.
Belief, action, results. And so you'll never do more than what you believe you can do, right? If you don't believe you can do it, you won't do it. But if you believe you can do it, then you'll go ahead and start taking action, right? And then the more action that you do, you'll have results. And the more results you have, the more belief that you'll have, right? It's a big triangle. The bar triangle is what I call it.
That's what's up. Well, Jay, thank you so much for giving all this valuable information to the people. We would love to have you back again. This has been the Man Up Club podcast presents on Holy Culture Radio. Tune in to the next episode.